you. Okay, so again, thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to join us to learn a little bit about this National Foster Care Support Program. But then you all are going to be joining this awesome team of remote volunteers from all over the US, but we also have people from Canada, Colombia, and then someone also in the UK. So it's really exciting that this is an opportunity that really has no barriers, and anyone that wants to support the no kill mission will be able to. And so I'll definitely get started by talking a little bit about Best Friends. So if you're not sure, if you don't know too much about Best Friends, this is one of the best slides to review, because this is our mission and our goal. And so our sole mission is to bring about a time when there are no more homeless pets. And that has been the case since Best Friends started in the late 80s. But our CEO, Julie Castle, in 2019, really put the stake in the ground when she said we're going to hit no kill in every community, every shelter by 2025. And so with that, we had 6 years to plan. And so what does Best Friends love to do? They love to look at the data. And so when we looked at where we were at in terms of reaching no kill, these orange numbers indicate what that life-saving gap is. So this is the work that we still need to work towards in order to hit this no-kill goal by 2025. So that's 625,000 lives, 5,000 shelters, 15,000 communities. And so in the strategic mapping of like, how are we going to do this? It is tackling it from all sides. And so it's this new idea of community supported sheltering, of really, and I can't remember who said this to me, but it's really ingrained in me of that this is a community solution, and this is a community problem that also requires a community solution. So this really kind of takes that and runs off with it, because again, with my experience in Los Angeles, when we were pulling animals, we were always limited by the number of kennels that we had available. And so if we still stick with that model, we're not going to be able to reach this life-saving gap. So how do we look beyond that? And then that's where the ideas of, and then where this program really comes into fruition, is how do we expand that number? How do we not be capped by the kennels? And that's honestly the pandemic, one blessing of it, and I'm sure that there are a couple more, but one blessing for animal welfare is that it really helped us pivot into a more foster focused model, more remote work, and just, again, it really just tore down the barriers that were perceived as a barrier before. And so with this last year, we've really expanded our foster recruitment, but getting an animal into foster is really just one part of the process. They still need to find their forever home. And also, while they're in foster homes, that's a lot more foster caregivers, and that's a lot more foster support that we need to provide. We need to give reminders, updates. We need to ensure that they're supported, so that way it's not like, oh, here's an animal, all right, have fun, we'll see you when they're adopted. It's no, we're here to support fosters throughout the entire journey. And so again, with this expanse and increasing our foster homes, that means we have so much more animals in our care. And so that's where this program really comes into place, because when we look at our life-saving centers, we would love them to focus on the work that they can only do in person. So that is the physical sending of the animal, picking up medication, picking up supplies. But again, that's only one part of being a foster caregiver. There's so much more communication that goes into it. And that's, again, where this program really comes in. And it's for anything that can be done remotely, should be done remotely by this awesome group of volunteers. And we will go over all of these different roles and how each of these different roles play a huge part in ensuring that we're supporting our foster caregivers, but also ensuring that these animals find their forever home as well. And so to give you a visualization, this is currently where we have 7 life-saving centers throughout the US. And one thing I also wanted to point out are these 5 orange states. These 5 orange states are the top 5 states with the largest life-saving gap. So they're where we really need to focus on. And so while a lot of our centers really help and cover some of those areas, there's still a lot of gaps. And so I also wanted to touch base in the beyond portion of this too, because again, initially when we started this in early February, end of January, that we piloted it with supporting Best Friends life-saving centers. But again, that's not going to help us achieve our no-kill goal if we're just supporting internally. There's so many other groups and so much opportunity in supporting our network partners, our satellite foster programs, which are remote foster programs where we work with a local animal shelter and we're like, hey, we'll help recruit fosters for you. We'll help give them supplies. We'll help do that piece of it. And then we'll help even find them homes. So again, it's working in conjunction with all of these groups that are still doing the same work. And so that's where this program is also going. We're starting to open the doors to supporting our satellite foster programs. And then the next stage is like, how can any network partner, if someone had just not as many resources and they need help with data entry, they need help with recruiting fosters, that's where they can tap into this awesome crew and get the support that they need. So now let's dive into this program. So what is a foster care support volunteer? And that's the name of the entire program. So it's really every role. And so generally speaking, someone who is technologically savvy. And this is the number one thing on, or the first thing mentioned here, because this is a virtual role. And oh no, this is a virtual role, and so you will be asked to learn various software platforms because we need to communicate together. We need to collaborate together, and you need to also have access to the systems that we use to manage our animals, to manage our volunteers. So again, having a bit of tech savviness will help you be more successful. We do provide training so that way you're comfortable in all of these softwares, but again, having just comfortability with a computer will help you just be more confident in this role as well. Great attention to detail is very important because like you saw on that map, you're going to be supporting maybe Los Angeles one day, the Northeast New York Center one day, Atlanta another day. So ensuring that you are doing the LA task in the LA email and the LA system is going to be very important because again, we don't want to send the wrong foster the incorrect information because again, you're supporting nationally. And I will just say that this is the first time Best Friends has had a volunteer opportunity where you're not just supporting one of the centers and that's it. You're supporting all of Best Friends. So I think that's really cool. Great client service skills. So the record management role, I'm not going to lie, is the role that you might least need this because again, it's really the keyboard warrior, the data entry focus. But again, there may be opportunities where you are conversing with a foster caregiver on an email. And so again, just reminding that you are a representative of Best Friends when you are in this role. So having that positivity and kindness towards all is going to be very important. Great organization and time management skills. So again, this kind of goes back into the supporting all the different roles and ensuring that if you're working on something and you're not able to get it done, that you're communicating that, you're working with and so in a training, it'll make more sense, but we have a Trello task board. And so ensuring that you're communicating where you've left off so another person can pick up on the following shift. That's how we're going to collaborate and work together with everyone being in different time zones and whatnot. And lastly, and I feel like this is very important to highlight as well, is the desire to help. And so I specifically chose this picture because for me, whenever I think about volunteering in animal welfare, I want to be this lady. I want to be on a couch covered in kittens and cleaning the poop off and the gruel. Like, I don't care. Like, that's what I want. But this is a virtual role, and so what we also like to say is important is the indirect life-saving work also needs to get done. And so that is the stuff behind the scenes that are still contributing to the mission. And so I hope that one day we could have an opportunity to like set up local opportunities to have an opportunity to connect. But at this time, again, the desire to help from the comfort of your home will help you be successful in this role. And then also we're always engaging online. So we also have like a little sense of community, even though it is all virtually, but it is really fun as well. All right, so in reviewing the roles, we have 5 of them. And again, this is just the start. There could be opportunities for more, but these were the big 5 areas that when we met with each of the foster programs specifically across Best Friends, these were the areas that they said they needed the most support in. And so let's dive into them a little bit further. So we're going to start with foster program support and recruitment. So these are going to be the most client savvy role. They really help with the general increase, getting people in the doors into fostering. So that's where that recruitment comes in as well, because they're getting people through the onboarding process. They're helping to answer general inquiries in the email. And so those organizational skills, but also the client service skills is vital for this role. Record management, the keyboard warriors, as I like to say. So again, you are the communicator between all the systems, because unfortunately, our systems don't communicate with each other. So we have Shelter Love, which is our shelter management system that has all of our animal information from the moment they're in our care, from even past when they're adopted. And also Digital Cheetah, which you all are familiar with at this point because it's how you registered for this this orientation. It's that volunteers.bestfriends.org, but the software itself is called Digital Cheetah. And so, for instance, every month we need to take foster hours and put them into one system. And so if you think about the Heart of Kitten season, in LA by themselves would have up to 1,000 kittens or 1,000 animals, with 800 of them being kittens. That's a lot of hours to put in. And so that's why I will say that this is one of the busier roles with the most access, but also the most tech savviness is vital again. So the training will review all of this and get you familiar. And I'm always available to and to help you with access reviews and whatnot. So, but this is a very important role because, like I mentioned before, oftentimes data entry, the reminders, what can really make a foster program to take that to that next level. This is what that role, I feel like, helps accomplish. Medical care support. Some of our programs have internal vet teams. Some of them do not and rely on outside vet hospitals and clinics that they partner with. And so those are a lot of record collecting, putting them in our system, because we need to ensure our animal's medical history is as up to date as possible, because that's our central system for any staff member to know what is going on with that animal. Where are they at? What's their most recent vaccine history? So ensuring those are up to date is very important. And so this one really focuses in that medical record management. So they're kind of like an off branch of the record management role, but they solely focus in Shelter Love. The Adoption Ambassador, which is our newest role that just launched at the beginning of April. And so again, like I mentioned, getting them into foster is just one part of the equation. Finding them their forever homes is the second. And so this is this role is really helping to ensure that just because they're in foster, let's also support those foster caregivers in getting their animals adopted. They may not have the strongest writing skills. They may not know how to take the best photos. So this person's really helping to guide that, creating the flyers for that, helping to write a bio based on information, and then also helping to engage with adopters after they've taken the animal home. How's it going? How can we help? Is there anything I need to escalate to a staff member? Maybe you need additional behavioral support, or they're not transitioning as well. So this role really helps with that, or shares the good news, because a lot of our volunteers and fosters put so much work into these animals to find them that placement, and they would love to see those updates. So this role kind of really helps bring that full circle around as well. And lastly, our foster mentors. So they really take their years of experience either volunteering in a shelter environment or fostering themselves and help guide new foster caregivers that, again, want to be part of the journey, but maybe they have a lot of questions that they don't want to ask this team member because they see that they were busy, or, you know, like, again, sometimes you're like, oh, like, is this poop normal? Like, I don't know if I need to escalate that, but having a buddy that can just be like, yeah, you know, maybe just monitor another couple of days or not, will really help guide them along the way. And so these mentors monitor a foster request inquiry, and that's on a software called Airtable. And so that's available to all of our foster caregivers and even staff that have identified someone that might benefit from a mentor. And then there's also a Facebook group community where anyone can join and ask a question to their convenience. Maybe they don't want an official mentor, but they just want to post a question or share a fun picture as well. So the volunteer expectations, what do we expect from you? So again, this is a super new program, but also it's a super flexible program. I know historically speaking, we always had volunteer minimums, but this one is, we want to just keep you engaged, but we also understand your busy schedule, and then we also understand the busy schedule of the team. So really we ask for collectively 8 hours each month. It could be sporadic. It could be less than that. Sometimes March could have been a good month. April could not have been. That doesn't mean you will be removed from the volunteer program at all. Again, we're super flexible to you, your schedule. And one thing I love about this program is it's kind of like a choose your own adventure. If you have 10 hours to commit one week, you can find opportunities for 10 hours. If you just are like, oh, I have an hour free open, let's see what needs to get done. You can jump on, see what needs to get done, and track those hours too. So again, super flexible to you and your schedule. Timely communication with project updates and task completion. So again, just because if you were working on something and you didn't share that it was completed, and then let's say that you're going on vacation and we can't follow up with you, ensuring that you have these updates before you log offline is just very important. So that way, again, if you didn't get it done, another person that's on the next shift can jump in, or again, just the staff member that's asking for the support, they can see the status as well. And then again, the best friends representative, so also adhering to our philosophies and guiding principles. Again, just as you are in this role, but really with the record management, it's minimal engagement, but again, treating your fellow volunteers and staff members as you would like to be treated as well. And the ability to work independently. So again, just really highlighting that this is a virtual opportunity. And while we are all in a group chat and we're constantly engaging online, again, you will be working on your own, but again, with your virtual support as well. So, and then what you can expect from us is follow-up discussions, communications. We want to know what's not working so we can figure out how to correct it and improve. And we want to know what's also working well so we can continue to expand on that path. We're always looking for feedback because, again, this is a super new program. And as we look to increase it and expand it, that feedback is going to be super helpful in ensuring that everyone's experience onboarding or going through the training is the same across the board. Support and guidance from the National Community Engagement Team. So right now that's just me, but we are in the process of filling the 2 vacant roles. So I do apologize for any delay in communication. We are hoping to fill those roles within the next month or so, but until then, it is just me, and I'm always available for you throughout your entire volunteer journey. So a little bit of more information is that these tasks that you'll be working on are to support the life-saving centers, but I'm your go-to person for any support that you need. If you're like, I don't have this access, or I'm having trouble reaching this person or anything like that, always reach out to me and I can help bridge that gap 100%. And then also, just kind of like the fun stuff. I always write a monthly newsletter that highlights just important updates, but also some fun kudos, things that are going around across the center so you can see what your work is doing and helping to accomplish. Like, I'm excited to send the April or the beginning of May one, because April was a month of transports, and this volunteer program helped with all the data entry of hundreds of kittens going from Texas to Utah. And so that was really awesome to see. And then we also last month had a virtual bingo. And so we tried to just find routine opportunities to engage if you want to, so that way we can also connect outside of work parameters as well. So a question that you all might be having is, okay, this all sounds great, but how are we going to communicate and collaborate if I'm in Pennsylvania, I'm in California here, someone's in the UK, like what? And so your training is definitely going to go a lot more in depth, but I wanted to review that these are the tools that really highlight how we're going to communicate and collaborate. So this platform that we're on right now is called Microsoft Teams. And if you're familiar with it, great, but it's pretty much just like how best to describe it. It's like a communication tool where you can also share files, store things, embed things. And so again, your next steps in the training will really review what you will need to know about Microsoft Teams. And then also how we'll be collaborating on what needs to get done is going to be through a program called Trello. And so if you are familiar with it, again, great, but I will say the easiest software of all of them to learn. And it's one of my favorites because you just like drag things. It's super colorful, and it's really laid out in a nice manner. And so at the beginning of each volunteer shift, or when you're checking in to say that you're available to work, there's always 2 steps to do. And it's one, you check in your group chat with your fellow volunteers and staff members that are in that role. And then you go to Trello. Or if they're, I don't know if Sarah ended up joining and she's the mentor, but if there were a mentor, you would go to Airtable, and that's going to tell you what you need to do in this time. I will preface too that every volunteer shift is probably going to look a little bit differently because priorities also change. It could be like, hey, we needed foster hours entered here, but we also need these vaccines entered here. So again, it might look a little bit different each time, but Trello is where you're always going to check to be like, okay, so I'm here for my shift. What do I need to do as well? So yeah. And then so now let's review the shift process. So again, you would be signing up for shifts in Digital Cheetah if that's what you wanted to do. If you have a schedule where it's harder to schedule in advance, you can always just check in the group chat when you're available, and we just ask that you manually track your hours. I will also say that the shift times currently are set up right now for when I'm 100% available, and a lot of the staff are available to help answer questions. So I do recommend signing up for shifts the first couple of times, so that way, again, you have the opportunity to ask a question and connect with someone about something before getting started. And then once you're familiar with that task, you're like, oh, I've done this before. That's when you really have that flexibility to be like, okay, cool. Like, I'll just do this. I don't need to check in with Michelle because I already know how to do this. And then the part 2 of it is that 2-step check-in process. Is you always want to check in the group chat and then check the Trello task board or the mentor requests, again, depending on your role. And that will always be your North Star in what am I doing today? Then we're wrapping up towards the end of your shift. So you always want to ensure that you're wrapping up that data entry, foster communication, loose ends, and ensuring that you're updating the task card with it as well. And I promise that a lot of this lingo will make more sense after you watch the trainings. And then we like to say, if you're on the computer, good opportunity to register for another shift. And then also the importance of logging your volunteer hours. So if you do register for shifts, it will automatically calculate in your volunteer profile. But if you are working outside of those shift parameters, there is an opportunity for you to add them as one lump sum before the end of each month. So that way we can ensure that we're crediting this program for the work that you all are doing. And so again, that's just a really nice metric I like to share in these newsletter as well. Like, I know for the month of March, we had over 400 volunteer hours. And so that was, again, just a really awesome stat to share. So now let's talk about your next steps. So again, this was just an introduction because being virtual, I just want an opportunity to see your face, get to meet you before we then jump to more digital communication, because your next step is completing an online training. And for your role, it's just going to be a handful of videos that dive into the programs that we use. And I will be honest, the goal of this training is not to teach you how to do every task that you're going to be asked to do, because I wouldn't be able, that would be a super long training because all of our programs do things a little bit differently. What the trainings are meant to do is get you comfortable and familiar with the programs that you're going to be asked to do task in. So that way you know how to confidently maneuver around and be like, yeah, I know where to get that information with this SOP that has the detailed steps. So again, it won't just be like, hey, do this. All of these tasks will have step-by-steps. And with you being familiar with the program, you'll be able to follow them and maneuver around. But again, any initial first shifts or questions that you have, you can always reach out to me too. After you watch your trainings and have access to your training manual, which will be in the follow-up email that I send to you, there is an opportunity for you to do the knowledge check. And that's just a way for me and for us to connect one-on-one. And are you good to go before we just kind of throw you into this volunteer program? Do you have any questions about the software? Let's ensure that you're confident and successful in this role as well. And then after you submit that, then it's it's a little bit of a waiting period because we need time to get your account set up, because you will need your best friend's email address. And you will see too that our IT team is very, has really great safe practices in place. So that's why you need an official email, and you'll be asked to sign an NDA and submit an antivirus software so that way they can get you this access, create your your Shelter Love users in the accounts that you need to, and then also invite you to the various platforms that you've also. But that really concludes our orientation today.